There is a question that floods every creator forum, every subreddit, every Discord server, and it's, why won't my friends support my channel? And the answers are really predictable, okay? So they're always, they're jealous, they're haters, the algorithm is rigged against me, it's not pushing my stuff to them. Okay, but I think not many people are asking the question that actually matters. What are you actually demanding from them, and what does it cost them to give it to you? Okay, let's think about how insane this has become, right? We have built a culture where friendship is now measured in engagement metrics, right? A like is loyalty, a comment is definitely love, and so then silence would be betrayal. And nobody stopped to ask whether this framework or these assumptions actually make any sense. So first off, this is not necessarily a comforting video. After analyzing this, being a creator myself, obviously, I wanted an honest answer. I did. And so now I'm going to give it to you. Because I didn't think that it was fair to expect my friends to watch all of my stuff. And at the same time, many of you, I know, I have dealt with the so-called former friend who's now like a lurker. And then there's the whole I scratch your back, you scratch my back crowd. So I get it. But in this video, I want to give you the three kinds of people that I think we're dealing with here. And so by the end, you will know which one is in your particular circle and which one you could even potentially be. Okay, so there's an unspoken contract in creator culture that we are aware about. It says, you follow me, then I will follow you. You like my content, I will like yours. We're friends, therefore we are each other's audiences. And that contract is a lie. So let me show you how this plays out, okay? Let's say your friend works a 10-hour shift. Their brain is exhausted. They come home and they open up social media, not to learn, not to grow, not to be challenged. They open it up purely for escape, okay? They want entertainment. They just want to laugh or something, right? They want to turn off the part of their brain that they've been using all day. And they're aware of the algorithm. Everybody is now. They know that if they click on your video just once, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok will start showing you them, your stuff all the time. Now, maybe they don't want your politics in their feed, your dating advice when they're married, your fitness obsession, okay? And that's totally fair that they don't. Their feed was carefully curated to be their escape from their world, and one click on it could potentially turn it into a second job for themselves. And that's not a theory, because this is how the algorithm works. And so they are right if they want to protect theirs. And there's another thing that I think a lot of people don't want to say out loud. And some of what we make is taste. Okay, so music, art, comedy, and maybe your friend just doesn't like it. And that's allowed. So here's something about criticism. Criticism is an art. Constructive criticism, it's a skill. Knowing what to say, how to say it, and when the person can actually hear it or receive it. And most people just don't have that skill. And they know they don't have it. So let's say when it comes to your content, your friend doesn't like what you made. They're standing at this three-way fork, right? Do they lie to you? Do they hurt you? Or say nothing? And most friends are going to choose silence every time. So sometimes silence isn't actually a betrayal. Sometimes it's the kindest, most honest thing that they have. They're not going to lie to you with a like. Now, I hear some of you are like, well, Nef, if they really supported me, they'd click anyway. They'd make that sacrifice. Would you? Would you genuinely sit through 40 minutes of a friend's breakdown of the assembly line at, I don't know, Amazon? Would you watch their screen recordings of spreadsheet optimization? Would you consume content about a niche that you have absolutely zero interest in? Not once, but repeatedly, because the algorithm keeps serving it to you because you retrained it just to prove you love them? The follow for follow contract, it's a trap because it conflates two things that have never been the same: friendship an audience. Mel Robbins, though I personally do not care for her, she has told people your social media is for you and your business, not your friends. But little do we now recognize that many are caught in the tribal mindset of a content creator. But your friends are not. They never join that world. They don't measure love and likes because nobody rewired their brain to just seek that validation, right? So you're holding them to rules of a tribe that they were never a part of. So you can have friends who totally love you, believe in you, they even want you to succeed. And your friend can still choose not to consume that content that doesn't serve them, even if their best friend is putting it out. It's true, those two sentences, they can exist, but creator culture has for years been telling us that they can't. Now, that does not mean that every friend who ignores your content has pure motives. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not a doormat. I obviously see. But it does mean that before you accuse anybody of jealousy or sabotage or betrayal, there is a question that comes first. Am I demanding something of them that I would never give? Somebody can support your business, but maybe they don't want it in their feed all the time. If you started a store down the road, that doesn't mean they're going to drive into it every single day. I think we just need to separate our mind from the online world versus in real life. They are two different things, even if you are promoting your business online. But there are two more tiers. I said there's different groups of people, and there are people that we should be worried about. And I have the Silent Auditor and the Gatekeeper. Those are people who actually wish you harm, whether they would admit it or not. And if you waste your moral outrage on your friend who's just tired from work or who's just really not interested in your day-to-day business life, you won't have any clarity left for the ones who do actually deserve your outrage. So tier 2, I call the Silent Auditor. So I saw a comment that I had to read the whole thing. It was wild. This woman said that she went to a reunion and the people there knew like everything about her life. They never once liked a single post. They never commented, never acknowledged her existence online. But they started telling her everything about her life. So it was like, oh, we heard about your family member dying. Oh, you got a pet, you moved, that the fact that she changed jobs. So these people had consumed her actual life like it was some sort of Netflix series. Every tragedy, every milestone, every single vulnerable moment she posted, they watched it, they absorbed it, and they filed it away. And then seeing her in public, reference it without ever acknowledging that they were watching. Like, where on earth did they get all that information from? And look, most of you who are watching this are probably creators, but some of you aren't. Some of you found this video because you watch a creator's life like you watch everything they post, quietly. You knew about the changing of the job. You knew about the new pet. You never said a word until you could say it to their face and watch them realize that you've been there the whole time. So this would then be a question for the lurkers. What were you protecting by staying silent? Because it wasn't them. Now your friend is under surveillance. So the Silent Auditor is not a friend who's too busy to click like. The Silent Auditor is someone who wants the information without the relationship. They want to know everything about you without ever having to treat you like a person who built something. Because here's the thing that we know. If they liked the post, then they'd have to admit that they were watching. If they commented, they would then become publicly associated with your work. So their silence isn't neutral, it's a power move. It lets them consume you without elevating you or supporting you. So think about how insane and insulting this is. They have direct access to the source, right? They know you, they could pick up the phone, they could text. Instead, they choose to watch you through a glass and then pretend like the glass isn't there when you're standing in the same room. So they don't really want your friendship, they want a dossier of your life. Now, I do want to be fair about something because I like to show all the nuances. If you're a creator, you chose this. You chose to make your life public. And strangers watching a public life is the deal that you signed. A stranger who knows about a funeral owes you nothing because they're an audience, and that's what an audience does. But your friend is not a stranger. Friendship is supposed to run on an exchange. You share, they share, both people are seen. The silent auditor kept the access and then they opt out of the exchange. They're taking the intimacy of a friend and then giving you the silence of a stranger. That's the violation. Okay, not that they watched, but that they converted a friendship into like a mini docuseries. And this is not rare anymore. This is becoming quite common. The people closest to you are often the ones who will never publicly support you because public support means public association, and they're not sure yet whether being associated with you is an asset or a liability. So they wait. They watch. They're collecting data. And then they decide later whether or not they want to claim you as a friend. But there is a darker tier. Okay, some of them have actually already decided. They're not waiting to see if you succeed, they're waiting to see if you fail. So they can be there, in person, arms open, saying, it's okay. We all had big dreams once. So that brings me to tier 3, the gatekeeper. There is a specific kind of person in your life who knows exactly what you are. They've seen it up close. They've seen the raw talent, the way your mind works, the thing in you that isn't normal, right? In a way that greatness is never normal. And they have made a quiet, private calculation. So while you're still in their vicinity, right, the local, accessible part of the group, your talents benefit them. Let's say you're the athlete who wins Friday night, bringing glory to the whole town and the school. You're the beautiful friend who gets them into the rooms that they couldn't enter alone. You're the person whose light makes the entire group look better. So while you're within reach, your brilliance reflects onto them. The relationship has utility. That's called basking in reflected glory, berging. So the moment you're about to outgrow the reach, the moment you're heading somewhere they can't follow, the sabotage begins. So it's not always overt because it doesn't really have to be. Sometimes it's just discouragement dressed as concern. Are you sure you want to put yourself out there like that? I just don't want you to get hurt. Look, I've been there and look at what happened to me. Maybe you should wait until you're more ready. Sometimes it's silence at the exact moment you needed somebody to have your back and be loud. Sometimes it's the friend who always has a reason for why this project isn't quite ready, why this isn't the right time, and why you should wait just a little bit longer. And if you ask them directly, they'll deny it. They'll tell you they're totally supportive of you because they may not even fully know they're doing it, because the driver, the motivation underneath all of this is 2 words: ego protection. Your success forces a question that they have been avoiding their entire adult life. What have I done with my time? Your existence, though, your willingness to build something, to risk something, to put your work out into the world that might fail publicly, that is an indictment of their decision to take the regular script. Get the job, settle down, stop dreaming. So if you succeed, they'd have to reckon with the distance between who they became, who they are right now, and who they told themselves they'd be. And that is unbearable for many people. So they hope, quietly, privately, in the part of themselves they don't examine too closely, that you fail. Because if you fail, they were right to settle. If you fail, the system works. Because if you fail, then we can all sit together and say what we've always said. We all had big dreams, but life happens. This is simply history repeating itself. I want to give you an example of Antonio Salieri. He was a composer in Vienna at the same exact time as Mozart. And history remembers him as the man eaten alive by envy of a greater talent. But we need to be fair to Salieri. He was not a hack. He was a legitimate composer, respected, successful. He was the court composer to the emperor. He just happened to be standing in the presence of greatness. And that's exactly what made it unbearable. You see, a stranger in the audience could enjoy Mozart for free. Salieri had the training to know precisely how far beyond him Mozart was. And so every note that he heard was a measurement of the distance. So this is why it's easy to cheer for the star when they're not your competitor. Fans do it every weekend, right? The star player isn't running their life race. But Salieri and Mozart, they were in the same lane. Salieri had the ears to hear greatness. He just didn't have the hands to produce it. And that was the gap between what he could recognize and what he could create. That's what consumed him. So the gatekeeper that you have in your life most likely operates in the same way. They don't hate your content. They hate what your content represents. It's proof that someone from the same starting line ran further. Proof that the regular script was always a choice. It wasn't a sentence. And this explains something that people ask about all the time on social media. Why can your friend like, share, and talk about a celebrity all day long and never once acknowledge you? The answer is simple. It's because the celebrity isn't a comparison. A celebrity is an ideal. They're untouchable. They're not their friend, so there's no gap to feel. You don't measure yourself against somebody you could never be or even want to be. But you're their peer. You sat at the same tables. You started from the same line. And the moment you start moving towards the realm of the celebrities that they've admired, the realm that they've only ever watched from a safe distance, that's where the real ego clash happens. The celebrity was never threatening them, but you do. Celebrating a stranger costs them nothing. Celebrating you requires them to explain to themselves why it isn't them. And I want to be clear here, okay? So this does not mean that you need to burn every single friendship that you have and then, just toss everybody aside, okay? No. It means being honest about who in your circle is built for the version of you that succeeds, because not everybody is. Some people loved you when you were small. They are not equipped to love you large. Epictetus saw this 2,000 years ago, right? He was born a slave, became a philosopher, a man who knew something about outgrowing the place people assigned him to. And this is what he said. Above all, keep a close watch on this, that you are never so tied to your former acquaintances and friends that you are pulled down to their level. If you don't, you'll be ruined. You must choose whether to be loved by these friends and remain the same person, or to become a better person at the cost of those friends. If you try to have it both ways, you will neither make progress nor keep what you once had. So this is not a content creator problem. This is a human pattern. And Epictetus named the cost of this without flinching. That's reality. There is a difference between somebody who can't climb with you and somebody who is actively hoping you fall or tearing you down. So the gatekeeper is the second one. And the only way to beat them is to succeed anyway. And then let your success do the auditing for you. Here's what people aren't talking about putting your work out into the world, okay? It doesn't change your relationship with your audience. It changes your relationship with everybody who knew you before you started. Your audience is just getting to know you. So every single video you post, every idea you put out, every time you choose to build something instead of just consuming, you are breaking an unspoken agreement. And that agreement says, we're all going to be normal together. We're all going to take the same path. We're all going to dream quietly and never actually try. And when you break that agreement, some people will cheer for you from a distance. Some will watch you silently and claim, I knew him when. And some, a smaller number than you think, but more than you'd hope, will wait for you to come back to the fold, put down the camera, and admit that it was just a phase. So the question isn't how to make these people support you, because you can't. You can't make anyone see what they've trained themselves to see or not see. The question is whether you're willing to keep building anyway, knowing that the people closest to you may be the last to acknowledge what you've built. So here's the truth at the bottom of this entire audit, okay? The people who need your work are not your friends. Your friends already know you. The people who need your work are strangers. They're people searching for exactly what you make, right? The recipe that saves their dinner, the walkthrough that gets them unstuck, the idea that names what they have been feeling. So a doctor, when they want to be one, they don't ask their friends, are you going to be my patient? No, they know there are people who need their skills. So our people are out there right now. And your job, your real job as a content creator, is not to convince your friends to become your audience. It's to make sure that when a stranger who needs what you have types something into the search bar, they find you. Your friends will figure out what they are eventually. And that's their audit, not yours. Keep building.
Join me on the floor and let's see what you can do. Is it just for show? Say, girl, can that body move?